Why isn't Julianna Pena impressed by Kayla Harrison? And why does she still see Amanda Nunes as the tougher challenge? Pena recently made headlines by downplaying Kayla Harrison's dominance and standing firm that Amanda Nunes remains her preferred opponent. In this video, we're breaking down why Pena feels that way and what makes Nunes such a bigger challenge in her eyes. Stick around as we break down Pena's take on Harrison and why Amanda Nunes is still the top dog in her book. Whether you agree or not, it's an interesting take on two of the most talked about names in women's MMA right now. All the information discussed in this video is sourced directly from the official UFC website, ensuring accuracy and up-to-date details about this topic. Julianna Pena has been vocal about not giving Kayla Harrison much credit, and her reasons for this stem from several key factors. Although Pena didn't watch Harrison's fight directly because she was preparing for her own, the feedback from her coaches left her unimpressed. According to them, Harrison didn't perform up to the hype that had surrounded her, and Pena's opinion reflects that disappointment. She believes Harrison, despite being a decorated fighter with an undefeated record in other promotions, has yet to prove herself against top-tier opponents, particularly in the UFC. For Pena, who has faced the likes of Amanda Nunes and earned the UFC bantamweight title, Harrison's accomplishments don't hold the same weight without facing UFC-level competition. Pena also seems to focus on her own accomplishments when evaluating Harrison. Having just come off a split-decision victory, Pena reflected on her own performance and the challenges she faced in the fight. Despite some controversial judging, Pena believes she did enough to secure the win, especially in the early rounds. She acknowledges that she was hurt in the fourth round but showed resilience by staying calm, relying on her durability, and pushing through to the end. Pena takes pride in her ability to persevere and sees herself as a role model for women, particularly her daughter. For her, these qualities, grit, toughness, and the ability to endure tough moments, are crucial to being a top fighter, and she doesn't see the same in Harrison's career so far. Another factor that plays into Pena's lack of praise for Harrison is the looming presence of Amanda Nunes. Pena has expressed interest in a potential rematch with Nunes, who is widely considered one of the greatest female fighters in MMA history. Nunes and Pena have a long-standing rivalry, with Pena famously defeating Nunes to win the bantamweight title, only for Nunes to reclaim it in a rematch. To Pena, Nunes represents the pinnacle of competition, and until Harrison steps into the UFC and faces that level of fighter, Pena might see Harrison as untested. Additionally, Pena likely feels that Harrison's hype is built on factors outside of her actual performances. Harrison has gained a lot of media attention due to her Olympic background in judo and her dominance in the PFL, but Pena may view this as overblown. While Harrison's achievements are notable, they don't carry the same weight to someone like Pena, who has fought her way to the top in the UFC, where the competition is tougher and more seasoned. From Pena's perspective, until Harrison steps into the octagon against top UFC fighters, the hype surrounding her doesn't match up with the reality of what it takes to be at the top of the sport. In Julianna Pena's eyes, Amanda Nunes stands out as one of the most significant fighters in women's MMA for several key reasons. Their rivalry is personal and deeply competitive, and Pena views Nunes as a benchmark for greatness in the sport. With both fighters holding one win against the other, Pena sees Nunes not just as a former opponent, but as someone who embodies the highest level of competition she has faced. This competitive dynamic makes Nunes a standout figure, and there are a few main reasons why Pena continues to focus on Nunes, even after her retirement. First and foremost, the unfinished business between them is a major reason Nunes stands out to Pena. Their head-to-head record is currently 1-1, and this split pushes Pena to view Nunes as the fighter she most wants to face again. The idea of a trilogy fight is something Pena strongly believes would be one of the biggest events in women's MMA history. To her, this third fight is not just about settling their rivalry, but would cement the legacy of whoever wins. Nunes also stands out in Pena's eyes because of her sheer dominance in the sport. Before Pena defeated her in 2021, Nunes was widely regarded as the greatest female fighter of all time, with a resume that includes victories over some of the biggest names in the sport, such as Ronda Rousey, Chris Cyborg, and Holly Holm. Her ability to dominate across two weight divisions, holding both the bantamweight and featherweight titles simultaneously, sets her apart from other fighters. Pena recognizes Nunes' incredible achievements and knows that beating someone with such a decorated career is what solidifies a fighter's place at the top. This respect for Nunes' skill and career accomplishments is why Pena holds her in such high regard. Pena also seems to think that Nunes retired too early, and this adds to the narrative that Nunes might eventually return to the sport. In Pena's view, Nunes may miss the thrill of competition, and a comeback could still be on the horizon. This belief only adds to Pena's motivation to push for a trilogy fight. If Nunes does decide to return, Pena wants to be the one to welcome her back and settle their rivalry once and for all. The potential for Nunes to miss the sport and return to action is another reason why she looms large in Pena's thoughts. For Pena, a third fight with Nunes would be an opportunity to settle their rivalry once and for all. In her mind, a trilogy fight could solidify her legacy, especially since their record is currently tied. Pena's confidence has only grown after reclaiming the title, which she takes great pride in, particularly because she became the first woman to give birth and win a world title twice. This achievement has bolstered her mentally and physically, and the mental victory of winning the first round in her rematch with Nunes was a significant breakthrough for her. It gave her added confidence and a sense of accomplishment, which would fuel her motivation heading into a third fight. Now, when it comes to Kayla Harrison, things are a bit more uncertain but still very possible. Harrison, an Olympic judo gold medalist and two-time PFL champion, has been dominating outside the UFC and has long been seen as a potential UFC competitor. While Harrison has not yet fought in the UFC, there has been a lot of speculation and interest in seeing her face top UFC talent. A matchup between Pena and Harrison would draw significant attention, especially if Harrison decides to enter the UFC or if there is a crossover event between the UFC and PFL. It's also worth noting that for Pena, maintaining her position as a champion and role model for other women, particularly her daughter, is a key motivator. She takes pride in her resilience and perseverance, qualities she would likely rely on in potential future matchups with Nunes and Harrison. Whether it's a third fight with Nunes or a potential battle with Harrison, Pena will aim to solidify her place as one of the greatest in the sport. In the end, the big question is, will Julianna Pena get the chance to face both Amanda Nunes and Kayla Harrison? A trilogy fight with Nunes could be one of the greatest matchups in women's MMA, while a showdown with Harrison would be huge if she steps into the UFC. With so much at stake, it's clear that Pena is ready for whatever comes next. Whether it's settling the score with Nunes or taking on a new challenge in Harrison, the future looks exciting for Pena. Make sure to stay tuned because anything can happen and you won't want to miss it.